Today's program of Cape Cod Arts is being brought to you by the voice studio of John Murelle. High quality and serious vocal training for the voice student. His studio is located on Route 6A in East Sandwich. 774-313-9012. The voice studio of John Murelle.
Hi, and thanks for watching Cape Cod Arts with John Murelle. We're changing the name of the show, Cape Cod Arts and Beyond with John Murelle, because there's just too many art events that I want to cover. First of all, I want to tell you that this week's show, we have two interviews. First, the theatrical and highly talented Seth Rudetsky in the West End of Commercial Street in Provincetown. And then a couple weeks later, we schlepped over to the East End to the Provincetown Art Association and Museum to witness the opening of the Robert Motherwell painting exhibition. We'll tell you a little more about that. Hey, there's a fabulous show happening at the Wellfleet Harbor Actors Theater. It's called Saving Kitty, Hysterical. And finally, are you watching one of my guests, Lily Mae Harrington, in the Glee Project? It's about half over. She's still on, and boy, is the tension getting exciting. Folks, thanks for watching Cape Cod Arts and Beyond with John Murelle. All right, I want to talk about two-time Tony Award winner Patti LuPone. Her first Tony Award was in her historic performance of Evita, and almost 20 years later as Mama Rose in Gypsy. Well, my friend Seth Rudetsky brought Patti LuPone for 4 shows in the beginning of July, over the 4th of July weekend. 4 shows over 2 nights. Each performance was completely sold out. And from what I understand from people I've talked to, each show was different. Now, Seth is Broadway's greatest fan, and you may or may not know, he used to write for the Rosie O'Donnell show. So he sets up the show in such a way that it's sort of like an interview. Think of it as like inviting a famous person over to your house and somebody interviewing them. That's kind of what we got. Questions like, Patti, why weren't you in the original Broadway production of Les Mis? Or what was it like working in Hollywood on the TV show Life Goes On? And then throughout the interview, she'd get up and sing some of her signature songs, like I Have Dreamed from Les Mis, and Stand Back, Buenos Aires from Evita. It was great. The audience loved it. It was practically, after each performance, was a standing, roaring ovation. I have to admit, it was a little disturbing that Miss LuPone used sheet music, like used lyric sheets for some of the songs. It just seemed strange to me. Some songs that she had sung on Broadway multiple times. However, it didn't matter because the evening was high energy, thoughtful, and invigorating. Seth, thanks for bringing Patti LuPone and others to the Art House on Commercial Street on Cape Cod to us. My guest today on Cape Cod Arts with John Murelle is Seth Rudetsky. Seth is the afternoon host of Sirius XM satellite radio's On Broadway, as well as the host of Seth Speaks on Sirius XM Stars. As a pianist, Mr. Rudetsky has played for more than a dozen Broadway shows, including Ragtime, Les Mis, and Phantom of the Opera. He has appeared on TV on Law & Order CI and had a recurring role on All My Children. Seth played himself in the show Kathy Griffin, My Life on the D-List, and recently co-wrote and starred in the musical Disaster, which the New York Times called a triumph. He currently writes a weekly column on Playbill.com and tours the country doing masterclasses and performing his one-man show, Deconstructing Broadway. He added television mogul to his long list this summer as Seth TV, his new web-based entertainment network, has just premiered in June. Go behind the scenes of the Broadway Ringmaster's amazing life with original shows like Seth's Reality, plus exclusive celebrity concerts, and much more. So here we are on the stage at the Art House on Commercial Street in Provincetown. My guest today is Seth Rudetsky, and in about 5 hours from now, Seth will be playing a concert for the legendary Broadway performer, two-time Tony winner, Patti LuPone.
Right.
I'm seeing at 5, and I'm so excited,
So
Seth.
am
I can't wait. Now, I know that you have a lot of irons in the fire. I think you're going on a Broadway cruise line soon.
Yes.
You have a very successful radio program on Sirius Radio.
Sirius XM, we've merged.
Okay. We have a reality show, which we're going to talk about in a couple minutes. You do cabaret performances or theater performances. Now, I have one question for you.
Yes.
What exactly is cabaret, and how does it relate to what you do, Seth?
I guess cabaret, I don't really know the definition, but I would say you're not playing a character, you're yourself on stage. So that's, I guess, how people would define cabaret, that you're not in character. And that's why a lot of Broadway actors are like, I can play anybody, but I can't be myself on stage, I freak out. So that's, I guess, the difference, that people are themselves.
So this is not cabaret here at the Art House. You're bringing in Patti LuPone and other people. What exactly is your show like for people who have never seen you work with somebody?
I think what's great about this show is that first of all, it's totally unscripted, and it really is the person talking, because what it is it's sort of like, I guess, inside the actor's studio, but not boring, and then cutting to songs. So, like, let's say with Patti LuPone, I've asked her about, like, why, she did Les Mis in London, but she didn't do it on Broadway. So I'm like, why don't you do it on Broadway? And she'll actually talk to me about it. We'll have a full conversation here. And then I'll be like, now sing a big hit song from Les Mis. Let's do I Dream to Dream. And I'll run to the piano and we'll do it. So we have chitty chat conversations, and then I'll run to the piano. And then on top of that, I also show footage of her performing, and I'll also play. So it's sort of like a whole multimedia, very unscripted, very real, where she revealed a lot of things last night. Like, at one point I said to her, I said, you're a part of the great diva dynasty. You're sort of, it's you. Don't you think of yourself, you, Bernadette Peters, and Betty Buckley? She goes, no, I think of myself. I want to be the only diva. I don't want to be in a group of 3. So anyway, it's very, very real. And it's not patter where they're pretending to be themselves. They actually are themselves because they don't know what I'm going to ask them before the show.
Mm-hmm. Any particular reason of all the summer venues in the United States why you came to Provincetown?
I came to Provincetown when I was working on the Rosie O'Donnell show, because I had a summer vacation, and people had just always recommended it to me. And I came here, my God, 1998, I guess, and I just loved that it wasn't like sort of a gay ghetto. I felt like there were so many gay people, so many straight people, like families. I felt it was just a very egalitarian resort where I didn't feel out of place because I was gay, but I also didn't feel like, oh my God, my 6-pack is called 1-pack with 2 love handles. So I felt like everybody really fits in here. I've gone every single summer, and then I began working here a couple years ago. So now I have working vacations here.
I see. Good for you. Good. It's a great place. I understand from my colleague friend who's a pianist who graduated from Oberlin Conservatory, her name's Lucy Banner, I see it on your shirt, that you're an Oberlin graduate.
Yes.
And I don't particularly know how old you are, but you might be in my decade, I'm not sure. And when I went to music school, I'm a singer, there were no musical theater programs. So you either majored in classical voice or you went into psychology. And you were a pianist?
First of all, those are the 2 options, psychology or classical voice. There actually were musical theater programs when I was going to school.
Oh, really?
But I didn't pursue performing, and it's so funny because I was talking recently about this. I don't really know why, because I do a lot of performing, but I think I had a big fight with my theater teacher in high school, and I was sort of blacklisted from theater, so I think I didn't consider it as a major for college. And I was also a good pianist, so when I auditioned for Oberlin and I got in as a classical pianist, first of all, it was early admission. Second of all, I couldn't believe I got in. I was like, I guess I have to go because I can't believe I'm good enough to go here. So that's kind of why I went, but I certainly never wanted to be a contra pianist.
Right.
Snoozy.
Did you think you were well trained?
I loved Oberlin. I mean,
You did?
Loved
Because you're from the East Coast, right?
Yeah.
Like, you're from, like, the hustle and bustle. And I've never been there, but I direct a lot of students there, and I hear it's snoozy. Cornfield.
But that's what I love about it. I mean, I don't, to this day, it's like, I don't like bars, I don't like noise, I love, like, playing a game for like 6 hours. So I love that Oberlin was this little small town, and we would like play celebrity all night, and there was one diner to go to. I love that, and I still, the friends I made there, I still have now. I love that about Oberlin. I just feel when you're 18 years old, why the hell are you going out to a bar and partying? It's like, get to know people.
Exactly. All right, good.
Cranky curmudgeon.
Yeah, nice. So that's Oberlin. What about,
Yes.
I read a review or an article from Houston, Texas.
Yeah.
That you were upset about how Broadway orchestras are shrinking, getting smaller and smaller.
Article, it's literally all I talk about. I talk about it every single day on the radio too. It's literally destroying Broadway, and it's mind-boggling to me that there's no outcry. And it really has to do with ignorance. Audiences, unfortunately, are ignorant. And meaning, not that they're stupid people, but their ears have become accustomed to this horrible, tinny, electronic sound. And they think that that's what an orchestra sounds like. And until, this is what I'm planning on doing. Because people don't really realize that, but let's say the show West Side Story played at the Winter Garden Theater. 30-piece orchestra, strings, delicious. Mamma Mia is now playing at the Winter Garden Orchestra, Winter Garden Theater. How big is their orchestra? 30 people? No, literally 9 people. 9 people, yet it's one of the biggest money-making shows in the world. So why? And audience ticket prices are like so much more expensive than they've ever been.
Right.
So why aren't audiences going, why the hell am I paying so much money for a Broadway ticket when they're not 9 people in a band? Like, my high school band was bigger than that. So anyway, the point is, what I'm planning on doing is doing a compare and contrast. And I've done this show before. I've done a show called Broadway 101, where I played the Gypsy Overture with 9 people, and then I brought on a full orchestra and I played it again. And I've said to the audience, like, now do you hear the difference? But until people recognize the difference, they're not gonna, until producers know they're gonna get busted for having a sucky orchestra, nothing's gonna change. So it's really up to the audiences, when they go see Broadway shows, to write to the local papers and go, I just spent more than $100 a ticket for Mamma Mia, and there were 9 people in the band. What a ripoff. And until there's an outcry, nothing is gonna change. It is, and what's infuriating to me is that when the musicians went on strike, and I was one of the people striking, a tourist walked by and they were like, thanks for ruining Broadway. And I'm like, I'm ruining Broadway. I'm trying to keep Broadway the way it's supposed to sound. If anything, I'm a synthesizer player. I will get more work the more the orchestras are cut down, because I, unfortunately, am playing for a string section. I don't want to have that kind of job. I want to have a string section. So anyway, it is devastating to me how listen to any revival and compare it to the original and see how horrific it sounds compared to the original.
What about the Encore series? Are they doing full orchestras?
No, Encores, that's great. Encores is delicious. Full orchestras. Encore series at the City Center, full orchestras. South Pacific brought back a 30-piece orchestra, but it's always like a special occasion when we get something like that.
I remember I was in New York, and they were doing a show called Broadway Unplugged.
Yeah.
Broadway with no mics.
Yeah, delicious.
But that was like the old days, right?
Right, but the problem is theaters now are, the acoustics are different, so you can't even get away with that anymore. Plus, pits are now covered up. Now, I mean, I played, like when I played the producers on Broadway, not half, but like 3 orchestra members were on the 7th floor. So you're not even getting the sound from the pit anymore.
Kidding.
Everything is pumped in electronically. It's devastating.
All right, I'm on my soapbox. We're starting to get a situation on Cape Cod where the smaller theaters, the community theaters, are doing pre-recorded.
No!
Yes! No! Exactly. And people go, what is the problem?
Because literally,
tell me why it's the problem.
Because the point of theater is that it's live, and theater is different. If you have something pre-recorded, it is not different. It's not live anymore. It's rigid. It's nothing will change. A place I've conducted so many Broadway shows, you have different tempos. Of course, you know, you're not going to go like, don't cry for me, Argentina. But the point is, if a show has a different energy, you'll speed up the tempo. You change the tempos. If a singer has to be able to adjust how they're singing, it becomes rigid, canned, and robotic. Why not watch a TV show? That is horrific. Better to have just the piano playing. Don't do the excuse like, we can't afford an orchestra.
I
then
know,
just
they
have
all
a
say
piano.
that.
Then just have a piano, idiots.
I think theater is all about imagination. You know,
100%.
I went to a production of, a local production of Grease. They had the crappiest car for Grease Lightning. And all I sat through the whole number going, is that an awful car? When if they would have put a box there or a chair, my imagination would have made and the same thing with music. I don't need a whole orchestra. I don't need a glockenspiel.
When you're not on Broadway.
Right. If you give me a piano, I can fill in the rest.
Because that's right, because you're at a regional theater, that's what you expect. I completely agree.
Good.
Bring just the piano. It sounds horrible, that pre-recorded, oh God. Cape Cod, stop.
Didn't Liza do that once in one of her shows?
She pre-recorded herself, as far as I know.
Yeah.
During the act.
And yes, that's what I remember.
Well, there's pre-recorded stuff on Broadway right now, and that happens a lot. They'll hire a lot of shows will hire a smaller ensemble and play pre-recorded singing to make it sound bigger. There's so much horrificness going on Broadway, and
Cheating.
it's getting cheating. Exactly. And because everything is so amplified, you can't tell the difference. I really feel like I'm the only national voice talking about this, and that's what I talk about on my radio show literally every day until it changes.
Ugh, I'm on the same stage with you. All right. What I like about your deconstructing shows, your programs here, is that not only do I get a terrifically entertaining performance, and it is, but I always learn something.
Thank you.
Now, do you consider yourself like an instructor or a teacher?
I always think of my shows as educational disguised as comedy shows. Yeah, 100%, because my shows are definitely very high comedy, but I love teaching people things that they walk away going, oh my God, I never knew that. So yeah, I do consider myself an instructor, but it's just secret style.
And yeah, I am not as knowledgeable as you, but I know a lot. I had my Broadway recordings, and my mother would knock on the door and say, John, shut the windows, the neighbors are complaining. But I knew everything. But there are things, I know every Streisand song recorded, and you taught me things, and so that's great. It's fun.
Thank you.
All right.
My work is done.
Please tell me who's coming this summer.
Oh my God, we have such an amazing lineup.
You do.
Okay, we have Charles Busch, completely one of my idols. And speaking of Charles Busch, someone just as hilarious, we have Mario Cantone.
Tell us who he is
again. Okay. So first of all, Charles Busch, created Vampire Lesbians of Sodom. He's just a brilliant writer-performer. Mario Cantone, I'm sure people that don't know Broadway know him from Sex and the City. He's hilarious on that show. Also, he's always on The View. Then we have Faith Prince, who won the Tony Award for playing Adelaide, a poison can develop a cold.
Bells Are Ringing too, right?
Oh, Bells Are Ringing, she did, yes.
She was great.
Tony Award for Guys and Dolls.
Okay.
Then we have Judy Kuhn, the original Cosette from Les Mis, completely obsessed with her voice. Then we have Betty Buckley from Eight Is Enough, for people who don't know Broadway, but also, of course, Grisabella and Cats. Touch me, it's so easy, belting in the mask. Then we have Megan Mullally from Will and Grace, who was Karen in Will and Grace, but I know her because we did Grease together on Broadway, as well as How to Succeed in Business. We have Alice Ripley, who won the Tony Award for Next to Normal, and of course, she's from Sideshow. So the point is, just every single week you need to come to the Art House. Thank you.
It's good. It's good. Okay, so what else do you have on the fire for you? Besides, you have a TV show, or what exactly going on?
It's very odd.
Because there's a person right here, like filming us next to my producer, John Carafoli. So something's going on. Yes.
I started a TV network on the internet because so many people now watch TV on their computers, or they hook their computers into their TV. So it's an entire network. It's a la Oprah. However, there's more whiteness and more Judaica, and it's all essentially, I call it an entertainment network, but it's mostly Broadway based. It's my reality show called Seth's Reality, and then it's all these concerts we're going to be filming from the Art House and showing on Seth TV, and then we have all these interview shows as well called the Chatterbox. It's just all different types of entertainment, and no one really understood. Someone's like, so it streams all the time. My father's like, I go to YouTube, and finally my therapist goes, it's like on demand. Thank you, that's what I pay you for. Exactly. So it's like on demand, SethTV.com, and it's all entertainment, all different types of shows.
Now, in addition to your bringing people in, you have your own show, right?
I have my own show I'm doing here, which is called That 70s Deconstructing Show. It's essentially me deconstructing, meaning watching clips and pointing out what's hilarious and horrific about them, 70s variety shows. And they were horrific, but hilarious. I did my first one this week, and I have to say, it was amazing. It's hilarious. I mainly focus on the Brady Bunch Variety Hour. If you've ever seen that show, you need to. If you've never seen it, you need to. So it's I'm doing that almost every single week. Oh yeah, it's literally Alice the maid singing and dancing Shake Your Booty.
Yes.
Need I say more?
I remember as that we used to in college rent Dark Shadows.
I love Dark Shadows.
And the bat would come down. You see the string?
100%.
It was like
it's that horrible quality.
Horrible. So, so everything is in this space.
In this art house.
Yeah. Good.
Yes.
Good.
It's all here.
Well, I'm going to be here watching you interviewing and playing for Patti LuPone, and I'll probably be back for a few others.
Bye-bye.
And you should also. So, hey, thanks a lot, Seth. I really appreciate
you.
it. Good luck with your summer, and good luck with your shows, and thank you for your time.
Thank you, Cape. I love Cape Cod.
So I hope you enjoyed that interview with Seth Rudetsky, and don't forget he has some other programs this summer that are pretty fabulous. Last week, which was about 2 weeks after the Seth Rudetsky interview, my producer, John Carafoli, and I headed over to Provincetown yet again, to the East End, to the Provincetown Art Association Museum. We were lucky to be invited by Chris McCarthy to the press opening of the Robert Motherwell art exhibit. A beautiful exhibit, folks. This artist has been exhibited in all the major museums throughout the world, and this is the first retrospective of his work in Provincetown, where he painted for almost 20 years. Please listen to this interview and take a trip down to Provincetown to see the Robert Motherwell exhibit, which runs till the end of September. We are at the Provincetown Art Association Museum on Commercial Street, and I'm very excited because tonight is the opening of an exhibit of the work of abstract expressionistic artist Robert Motherwell. And I'm standing right next to this lovely woman, Lise Motherwell. You might notice the last name is the same. Lise Motherwell is the daughter of Robert Motherwell, and she is co-curating this exhibit.
Right.
Yes.
That's right.
And my first question is that your father was an abstract expressionistic artist, yes?
Yes.
But he didn't study art in the traditional way. He actually was a philosophy major at Stanford, is that correct?
That's right.
And then went off to Harvard.
He went to Harvard, got his master's in philosophy, and while he was there, he spent a year writing his master's thesis in France, in Paris, where he met many of the surrealist artists and became interested in art. He had been interested in art since he was a child, and had actually won a scholarship when he was 13 to a private school where he could study art for a few months.
Your father did the Beside the Sea series, which is the name of this exhibition here in Provincetown. Were you present at a lot of the making of his art?
I was present in Provincetown, but not in the studio.
Oh, no?
No. So my father tended to paint at night, late at night. After dinner, he would paint until 2 in the morning. It was a time that it was quiet. It was a time that he was not interrupted by telephones and the daily life of P-Town. As a child, had asthma and was very afraid at night that he would die in his sleep. So he also worked at night because of this fear of having a terrible asthma attack in the middle of the night.
Interesting. Were you aware when you were growing up that how famous, successful, well-known your father is in the art world?
He actually was not as well known to Americans as he was to Europeans when I was growing up.
Isn't that always the case? Yeah.
Right. So in many ways, when I was growing up, except when I was in Provincetown, where everybody knew who he was, partly because of the size of the town and partly because he was hanging out with other artists and his stature in the New York art world, that many of my friends that I grew up with didn't know who he was until much later on. I think now virtually everybody knows who he is. So I don't think it was, I think what was unusual in my family, particularly when he was married to Helen Frankenthaler, was that she was very social and loved to hang out with all sorts of creative people, all sorts of well-known people. Yeah. And so our house was filled with, writers and artists and designers and photographers and editors and publishers, and so that was very exciting, and I think that was very unusual to people outside of my family, but to me seemed pretty normal. So when people are very enamored of meeting somebody famous, for me it feels a little bit, it's sort of normal, but also still exciting. I mean, it's really nice to be around really smart, creative people. It always is, isn't it? Yes. Yeah.
I know you have a lot of things to do with the opening of the exhibit tonight, so I'm going to let you go, and I really appreciate you coming.
Thank you.
I'm standing with the executive director of PAM, Chris McCarthy, who has taken a little bit of time getting this exhibit going, is that right?
Just a little bit.
5 years, yes?
5 years, yes.
What takes 5 years, Chris?
It actually took longer to plan and execute this exhibition than it did to renovate this building, which is kind of shocking, yes. Mounting an exhibition of this caliber truly does take a lot of time because the first steps were in coming up with the concept of the exhibition, then the actual identification of where the works are, the permissions to borrow the work, and of course the fundraising that goes along in terms of being able to support an exhibition of this size, as well as an accompanying major catalog that went along with it. So there were several years of fundraising, securing the loans, and then really working out a time that was convenient within our schedule, and was working along with the Daedalus Foundation, which was Robert Motherwell's foundation. They played a major role in helping organize this show, and they'll be coming out with a very significant catalog raisonné this fall. So we did want the two projects to coincide, and that's why it was pushed back a little bit. But truly, it was about identifying the right work. We really honed this exhibition down to feature works that were inspired by and made in Provincetown. When I was hired in 2001, I was hired to come and renovate and expand this building. It's always been a grassroots building with many additions from the 30s, 50s, and 70s, but there really was no major work done on this institution for almost 30 years. Oh. We had leaks in the ceilings, there was no insulation, there was no climate control, and those conditions absolutely prohibit work of this nature. And so the idea of renovating this space was with the intent that we would be able to bring these types of exhibitions back to Provincetown.
Okay.
This is the first comprehensive painting exhibition ever of Motherwell, and we never would have been able to do this without upgrading this facility from the 18th to the 21st century. So we kind of skipped 19 and 20. We went just right from there. I'm kidding.
Wow. You know, I was talking in an interview with Debbie Foreman, who wrote that amazing 2-volume book on the artist colony. And she explained to me that not all art is going to be attractive to every single person.
That's right.
Now, Robert Motherwell's work is primarily known as abstract expressionism, right?
Yes.
I was lucky enough in the winter to see the William de Kooning exhibit at the Museum of Modern Art, which I loved. Explain to me exactly what makes abstract expressionism. I can't imagine it's just a period of time. No. It's a kind of art, yes?
It is, absolutely. And I'm just going to segue for just a minute. The history of this museum is such that from 1899 to about 1927, primarily only traditional Impressionist artists were showing work here.
Okay.
The abstract expressionist painters moved in here came to Provincetown in about 1927. For 10 years, the traditional artists would not show in the same space as the abstract expressionist artists. It was a 10-year rift from 1927 to 1937 before these artists would show together.
Oh, wow.
The design of this museum is very indicative of that story because we have an 1820s federal house that was paired with a modernist structure, because no matter how you spin it, they have to play nice together, and that's what we've tried to do. But for the inspiration, especially for this particular show, it's mostly nature, it's sea, it's air, it's the environment, it's the reason why artists came to Provincetown. And although you may look at something and say, oh, I don't get that, truly, if you read the text in the book that we've created to go along with this, it really isn't anything more than Motherwell being inspired by his surroundings, and that's what the show is really all about. So we appreciate people really coming in and looking at the space, but we want people to go a step further and really learn more about Motherwell through this exhibition and how he was inspired by what's directly across the street, the sea.
The exhibit is here until September 30th,
September
yes?
30th, yes.
And you're open how many days a week?
7 days a week.
7 days a week.
Yes.
And you're right on Commercial Street, right?
Right on Commercial Street, and our website is paam.org, and there's a full schedule of public programs that accompany this exhibition. We're thrilled to be able to have this here, and we think anybody who's in the area needs to take advantage of seeing this opportunity.
And you would suggest coming and listening to the various lectures that you're presenting, because then it brings more life to it.
It does, and that's, again, part of our mission is educational. We want people to come in and be inspired, but we also want them to learn things, and you certainly can do that here in all formats.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you so much.
I know what an accomplishment this is,
you.
and it's thrilling. And please, folks, come out to Provincetown and check this out. Thanks, Chris.
Thank you so much, John.
Hey, folks, that's my show for today. I hope you enjoyed it. And, Provincetown is not that far if you live on the Upper Cape. Come on down and see it. Hey, can you believe it's been a year since Cape Cod Arts with John Murelle has been going on? I really want to know what you think of my show. Could you check me out on Facebook and let me know what you liked, what you didn't like, and perhaps offer some suggestions for next season. Thanks a lot for watching Cape Cod Arts and Beyond with John Murelle. All right, today on Cape Cod Arts, we're way down Cape. So far down, we're almost in the ocean. We're on Commercial Street.
Hold on, that's called Down Cape? Isn't it called Up and Around Cape?
No, Upper Cape is the bridge.
This is the Cape, you go, how is that down?
I don't know, but I've lived here. It's taken me years to figure it out.